Welcome to the Best Day Ever podcast, a heart-centered podcast where life, love, and business blend seamlessly with faith.
Hosted by us, David and Mavis, each episode marries professional growth with personal fulfillment, and it's all grounded in spirituality.
Here we dive deep into the mindset shifts and actionable insights designed for entrepreneurs, high achievers who seek to thrive in an area of their lives.
Tune in and transform your everyday into the best day ever.
This is gonna be the best day ever. You got me looking so fresh, I can't get no better. Baby, I'm a T-Rex, ready to rumble, ready to flex, I'm the king of the jungle. Gonna be the best, best, best. Gonna be the best day ever. Best day ever.
Lord, thank you so much for this moment. Thank you so much that you have allowed us to just be here together, to use the power of our influence and our words to just give you the glory, Lord, because this is for you. We're doing this for you, Lord, and we want this podcast just to reach the hearts of so many people. And as we kind of go into this fourth quarter, Lord, we just in advance, we want to say we're sorry for all the times that we're going to get frustrated and overwhelmed, and for the times that we're going to try to do it all and do it all ourselves, Lord. We're so sorry that there's so many times as entrepreneurs in this journey that we just try to bring it on ourselves and forget how important and how critical your role is in our business, that you are the source and that everything we have, including our businesses, is yours, and our efforts alone it is just not enough, Lord. And so in over our heads with all the things, whether it be personal or business, may we just remember how good you are and how grateful we should be that you love us unconditionally all the time, that you're rising the sun and bringing up the moon, that you are making oxygen for us to breathe, Lord, that you're doing all of these things, Lord, and you still remember to be part of our lives and to be there for us, Lord. And we yield everything that we do in our business, in our life, in our marriage, in this podcast, and what we speak today, we just yield it all to you for your glory. And we just pray that this episode just lands in the right set of people who need to hear you this season, Lord, and that we all remember the reason for this season is Jesus. And in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I feel like I was inspired on that one. So thank you for that prayer. For the past 2 episodes, I was writing down the prayers because I thought that I was going to forget. I thought that I wanted it to be so specific, and this one just flowed so nicely in my head and in my heart. And so I think that we're just gonna go ahead and start just praying from the heart without a checklist. So there goes that.
Absolutely. Bueno, let's get into it. Surviving Christmas, whether high or low. So today we just want to share a little bit about our personal experience with this. In fact, we think that depending on your business, it is high season or low season for you. And for us, we lived both, right? Maybe
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about that, how our beginnings began, were they high, were they low? And let's share with our listeners.
Absolutely. So in the beginning, like most entrepreneurs, we both had a 9-to-5, and we started our business, and that could be a whole nother episode of how our business started. But we started kind of just realizing that we wanted to go into weddings. So then we did all of our branding in the wedding industry and targeted that bride. We have shifted in so many, we've pivoted, we've shifted our business in so many different ways. But at the beginning, because we were doing more weddings and we had our 9-to-5, we were doing more weekend work. And a lot of the times during those holiday seasons, people are already having celebrations. So the weddings wasn't really happening in Christmas time, that season was a little bit more of a low season for us. And we spent a lot of time kind of just working on our business, which we'll talk about in a little while. And we also wanted to be able to enjoy Christmas because we love Christmas. Like, it's just one of our favorite times of the year. And so we decided at one point, like, we just want to take off for the whole month of December.
The whole month of December.
The whole month. And that never really happened completely. And we're still trying to meet that goal. And it's one of those things like...
I think we did knock it out maybe a year or two. And that's prior to minis being a thing in our business.
Yes.
We were able to knock it in the sense of...
not shooting.
Correct. In the sense of shooting, our clients, I think we were able to nail the month of December and not work. But that did change, obviously. We did have a maternity leave, which that was great.
Yes, and I think that was probably the first time that we didn't shoot. We didn't do anything in December. Well, we created a whole nother business that we're no longer doing, but that's, again, podcast episode number whatever.
We decided instead of going on maternity leave and relaxing and spending time together, well, we still spend time together, but we decided to start an Etsy store. And so, but we had fun doing it.
Yeah,
so
we had fun. But, as entrepreneurs, you just continue going. You can't stop. And that's one of the things that we had to learn how to do. And, we did have December off. And I don't think that the Etsy shop that we started really interrupted that, because all the orders had to be done by like early in December, end of November. True. So I think we still ended up having the majority of December off.
True.
Just for family. But, the point is, like, because we had maternity leave, because we wanted to do December more of a light month, we had to make different things happen before that time. So during the maternity leave year, which was 2021, we actually shot Christmas minis in September in order to give us the opportunity to have October, November, and December with the baby. So that was a challenge in itself, because most people aren't thinking about Christmas minis until like November, right? So how did we...
Yeah. And we didn't think, to be honest, that we were going to sell much.
It was the last hurrah. Like, we're about to go on 3 months of maternity leave.
I didn't even think we were talking about end September. I think we were talking about early September that we were reaching out to people to shoot Christmas minis in September.
Yes.
Which, by the way,
some people loved it.
Yeah.
Some people were like, perfect, I get this out of the way before the Christmas rush. So it was actually a lot of fun. But the whole idea of having December and enjoying it versus being so rushed and so overwhelmed with December is really just based on how much you want to plan and being intentional about that time. So first, we need to kind of assess whether Christmas is busy season or slow season for you and your business, and it could differ. Not only it can differ by industry, but it can also differ by the season you're in within your business. Like if you're starting, or if you're, seasoned entrepreneur, like what does that look like? And can we be intentional about it, right? So that's kind of the question that is on a lot of people's minds, I'm sure. Like,
especially when you begin, right? Understanding that. And sometimes you don't know until you get into it. And for example, for us, Christmas minis didn't become a thing until, what year was that? You remember?
I think it was 2019.
2019. So our good friend, who is now resting in peace, she had gotten diagnosed with colon cancer. And so we wanted to use our photography as a way to be able to collect funds for her, and it was 100% going to her, to help her out. And so we put together an inspo, and we decided to do a Christmas minis, and a lot of people came out. And to be honest with you, from something very sad, a beautiful thing came about. And the following year, we decided to do it again. not only the Christmas minis portion of it, but also still giving a portion to a cause. And every year since then, we've been doing it. And the point is that first year, we didn't really, you can't really, statistically, you can't measure that, because the core reason why people were doing photos with us, I think it was mainly because they wanted to support, which is very different from a business perspective. So we couldn't base it off that, but we were able to have examples to show people. We were able to tweak maybe experiences, how to go about purchasing, how to charge people, how to prepare them for the Christmas minis. That year we did it outside, and to do Christmas minis outside, you are running into a lot of risk factors, right? Because the weather, was it too hot? Certain people are not as sweaty, they don't mind. Other people, you see them literally like the shirts, if they wear a light colored shirt or whatever,
and then the wind and all of those things are a factor. So you just kind of learn what works, what doesn't work, and the only way that you're gonna know is either you try it, trial and error, right? Absolutely. Or you have a coach or someone who's teaching you, how to do this. And at the beginning of our business, we didn't really have a lot of extra income to just hire and learn and all that stuff. So we really just had to do trial and error. It would have saved us a lot of time if we did go with a coach. Yeah. But, that's why we're here talking to you 10 years later about our experience. Sure. So really, you got to just be able to say, okay, what is the data? First of all, did we enjoy doing those Christmas minis, which we did? Do we want to try to do this again? And do we want this to be busy season? Because I know a lot of businesses feel like, oh, that's a time that I always sell, so I have to have busy season in Christmas. And you can make changes, and we'll discuss that, too. Like, there's an option, right? You just have to plan ahead, and you have to be able to be open to making changes that will be intentional for the lifestyle that you want to live. Because remember, we're not working to then squeeze our life into our what's remaining of our work. Instead, we should be living, and we should be putting our work into our life, right?
And again, we also understand that setup doesn't work for everybody. Right? There's certain careers, certain businesses that you start that really doesn't allow you to have that flexibility. But when you do have a business that allows you to control that, and that you can make your income on a certain other time of the year and decide, no, this time of the year, I want to focus on this. Or like you said before, Mavis, not have it be fully busy season, meaning let's go ahead and what we strive to do now is work portion of it. And then like that, we could enjoy, right now we try to enjoy the last 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, depending, right? We're not shooting the third week, but we might be still editing or something like that. But that's different, right? We get to, if we wanted to book a trip and be editing from the pool or from the hotel or from et cetera, work a little bit in the morning, and then, right? Because we've gotten in those conversations as to when you have like for people who like to take off during their breaks, right? We don't mind taking our computers and then waking up early in the morning, editing a little bit, and then going to do whatever activity with our baby flexible. And doing it. Yeah, keeping it flexible. So you also have to be realistic on, does my business allow me to do this? And if it does, this is how I do it, right? The whole planning portion of it.
For example, like our Christmas minis, there's a lot of photographers that'll shoot up until like the 23rd, right? And we don't do that. We, like David mentioned, we take the last 2 weeks at least completely off of our business. And that is an intentional thing that we do. We've decided it's okay for us to miss out on those 2 weeks of income because of the way that we're preparing our year and because of the way that we're selling it. And we'll continue to go into that. But, if you're a product-based business and you have a lot of Christmas orders, for example, that is really important for you to really start planning and thinking about earlier on, so that you're not drowning in product orders and all of those things. Like maybe it means that you need to hire someone over the holidays to help you, or maybe it means that you need to start your marketing before and have a hard cutoff for when those products need to be done being ordered. And you have to be okay with, losing out. I'm going to call it that, right? I'm going to call it that, but that's not really it. Losing out on the income of an extra week of work for your sanity, right? You need to be okay with that. And until you make the decision to be okay with that, then you're going to be stressed out, right? And in Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says, there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And I truly believe that no matter where you are in the business journey, we have to remember that there's a time for everything, right? And for us, the Christmas season, that time is sacred for us to spend with family, for us to give back to our community, for us to rest. As entrepreneurs, it's very hard to rest or to think that it's okay to rest, but we have to remember that there's a time for everything and there's seasons, right? And so whether you're right now in busy season or you're in slow season or somewhere in between, just think about that. What do you want to get out of this? And what does God want us to do? He has so many things that he tells us in the Bible, and then so many things that we ignore sometimes as children that we are, right? So we just have to remember that there's a time for everything, and don't feel rushed or don't feel like you have to overwork yourself just because it's the holidays and that's where a big portion of your income comes in. There's ways that you can get creative and still be able to produce income during this time.
Going back on a little bit what you mentioned, to be able to have that hard stop, right? To be able to accomplish that, I think planning ahead of time is a huge one, and specifically in the marketing area, right? Because you're marketing during that quarter of selling for the time frame that you want people to be educated about and know when is your minis days, right? Let's talk a little bit about that. How do we prepare in this case for our fourth quarter? When should be doing certain things, whether it is planning it for if it's high season, what do we do in preparation? And let's also touch base on if you know that fourth quarter is a slow season, what do we work on during those times to also kind of position us in a situation where we can thrive the minute that it picks up.
Yeah, correct. I love that. And we're gonna start with busy season, just because busy season requires a lot of planning. It's not like you plan your busy season in busy season, right? The idea or the concept that we've discovered works the best is when you start way earlier on. So you have to kind of start like, what's my product? Is it the same product that I've been selling? Is it a new product? Do I have content? Do I have marketing that I have saved? Or do I need to create one, right? So is there a new product or is it the same product that you're selling? In our case, it's a little bit of both because we're doing Christmas minis, but at the same time, it might be a new set.
Correct.
Or we might change the price or change what's included. So it's kind of a little bit of both. And I like to live, blending versus balancing things out. Like nothing is going to be equally equal. So that kind of is a blend for both of us. New, but at the same time, it's the same industry.
Absolutely. And if that product, are you reaching the same crowd? Like for our sets, there's some people who love inside studios, but maybe we decide, we found this beautiful outside place, or and to be honest with you, you're making these decisions based on what the market is telling you, right? If people are reaching out because they want Christmas at the beach, for example. I know one time we did our photo session at the beach and you say, well, photo shoots in Miami is not the same as New York, Chicago, etc., where there's snow, it's cold, you could get to dress up like it's, and we did a session. I never forget that we took a blanket to the beach. We took hot cocoa, or what it looked like hot cocoa, and a blanket. Now, mind you, it was hot. It was extremely hot.
Well, it wasn't like summer hot. It was like...
So I would rephrase. It was
Florida
hot for me, okay? Because I didn't like that, right? I sweat in the studio. I'm sweating right now as we record this right now, right? I feel my body hot. So that day I'm like, for me personally, it wasn't my favorite.
And different age groups too. Like
you might be
sometimes in your marketing, like we're targeting more toddler moms, and other times we're like, hey, don't forget if you have older kids, you can do this too, right? Who you're trying to reach is really important to know. And then what connections can you build to help you during this busy season to
early on for sure. So now we're talking about like July, August. Are you building
sometimes
these
June.
Relationships? Sometimes June. And a perfect example is one winter, Christmas, etc. We teamed up with a indoor playground, and we were able to establish a relationship with them that then led to doing a Santa tour. We actually established a relationship with 2 indoor places. Actually, no, we didn't do that one. Where did we do? What was the tour? We did the indoor
here
playground
in Catalina.
one. There you go. And then we also built that. That's right. We built a relationship with
apartment complex.
The apartment complex, absolutely. Because we saw a need, right? There was a need there. And then there was also the connections that we did with the indoor playground where, again, these are people investing in their families, in their kids. Yeah. So we established that. And then we had
did giveaways too.
We did
with
giveaways.
Different companies.
And prior to that, we had made a connection with Santa Claus. Now, mind you, when we reached out to Santa Claus before that year, that connection had already been made a year before. Right. And then he was flexible to do, because it all came about because of the need, because of the situation that was spoken about in August, July. Right. Yeah. And we had made his connection the year before, and he loved working with us. And then we created the Santa tour, where we started off in one location, did some sessions there for that environment, for those people in that area, and then we moved to I believe it was the playground. No, we did the community, right? And we did photos there, and then we finished off at the playground. Very different situation came about. It wasn't something that we thought about idea and then tried to make the connection. We slowly started creating relationships.
And it's important for you to figure out who can help you, right? Who can help you sell your service or your product, and start reaching out to those people early on, because if you wait, maybe they already have a photographer, or maybe they already have a brand partnership with someone else that doesn't allow them to take on your brand partnership if you're a service-based product. So you really need to start thinking about busy season, if it's busy for you, in the middle of the year or earlier than that, so that you can, build those relationships, grow the information regarding that busy season earlier on, so people can book you earlier, people can buy your stuff earlier, and also so you can reserve or purchase any inventory that you need to do before either it runs out and you're stuck, or
listen, guys, we almost got stuck without a Santa Claus when we were purposefully seeking him. We didn't think that Santa, I think the first year we worked with him, which by the way, we seeked, I believe, like 5 different Santa Claus. We were really picky with our Santa Claus. Like, we wanted to feel the magic, you know? And our Santa comes from Vero Beach, purposefully because we just love his magic. But going back to connecting on it earlier, like July or August, by the time we spoke to him, he's like, oh, I'm like, literally, we had to pick the date on his availability because he was so full. And I think the first year we did like December 3rd, which is not our ideal time because we want to be almost done by December 3rd. And a lot of people wanted to have their pictures earlier on done with Santa Claus so they can print it, send
the
cards,
Christmas cards. Exactly. So you have to think about your client too, like who's your ideal client and when do they want to buy this stuff, right? Like our ideal client, they want to send out Christmas cards and they want to have enough time to like order them and then receive them and then forget about it in the mail for a few days and then address them and then, decorate the envelope and have the kids put stickers. Like there's a process for these Christmas cards to come out. And so we have to really think about what connections do we need to make? What do we actually need to order or reserve? And then what is my client's behavior like so that I can use all of those things to build a great experience and also to build my marketing, because we were taking pictures in the summer with Santa at the pool to use in a promotional, content to be able to make it fun and light and
that's the
appeal.
decision that we took because we like to go the extra mile. We didn't have material to sell Santa, right? So I'm like, here we want to promote Santa Claus, but they don't know what the Santa Claus. And let me tell you guys, Santa Claus looks different.
Very.
Like the
I don't
five,
know if you
you lay them out, and it's like they just. Now I understand. Like for example, in those movies and those New York Times where you got those Santa Claus that are maybe a little tipsy, right? You got that little drunky vibe. Man, they do have a face like the cigarette smoking, drinking Santa Claus.
They
have that in real life, and that honestly for us was like, okay, no, buddy, sorry, this is not what we're looking for. So, producing that material that first year. Now we didn't do that the second year. We already had material. You already know what the experience was going to be like. We know what our Santa was going to be like, so we didn't have to. We were ahead of the step. There's some years that you're going to do more. And other years you're going to do a little less. And you don't have to go from
And for
scratch.
example, my sister has an Etsy shop and she and I work on all her holiday content like very early on, because the thing is, some parents, like in her case, ideal client is someone who wants an heirloom, right? And so they're going to go searching for months until they find the perfect thing. And they're not going to go December 1st to buy an outfit for their December 3rd photo shoot. Her ideal client is a mom who is very invested in heirlooms. And so we have to think about a set and what would appeal to her. And, we have to be able to create all that content earlier on. So there's enough time for her to post it as a listing and to really just create a system that works for her, staying organized and maintaining excellent customer service. Because if you're up to here in orders, how are you going to give great customer service? If you're up to here trying to figure out what email you're going to send to the client as a confirmation during the time you're actually selling in busy season, then you don't have the capacity to give great customer service. So being organized and maintaining that that excellent customer service and excellence in everything that you do, it really requires a lot of planning on your end. So one thing that helped us a lot was creating systems and having everything laid out and set in, June, so that by the time the busy season comes around, most things are just automated. So we go ahead and we do the photos, we record videos, we put together the reels, we write out the copy, we write the series of emails that we're going to be sending out. And of course, there's times where things are going to pop up and you're going to have to deal with it. But for the most part, the bulk of the work is done prior so that you're not going crazy and you have time for your family and for life, right? Because we don't just run businesses, we have lives. So that's really important.
And here's a cool thing too, is that the beginning of these adventures of the sales for a specific campaign are more difficult because you can't really relate any data to it. But as time passes, Christmas minis for us have been a little bit easier, understanding that people will do certain purchases ahead of time, and who doesn't do purchases ahead of time, that people will book in the mornings and in the evenings, and then there's a certain target audience that will book in the midday. And for example is the first year that we had Santa Claus, we booked him for 8 hours. We're like, we're gonna go, we're gonna keep him for 8 hours and we're gonna sell all day, etc. Now our audience had a younger crowd,
like toddlers,
which we
and
didn't
babies.
know this during its happening. We kind of then found out
we
later.
use the data to really tell
Correct.
us.
And the data was telling us babies are available in the morning and in the evening. But in the midday,
They're
not
napping.
one baby. Now one baby was showing up. Now we did have like one or two of your older kids, and we didn't have too many of those. At least the people who we reached out to. So our strategy now the following year is like, all right, we need to build a better network of older kids if we're gonna shoot midday. Or let's not shoot midday. And let's
Correct.
do that to work on something, etc. Leave that out. But we only kind of knew that. So we can either leave it blank or we don't want to make sales for that, or how can we fix that issue that we now know because we got the data and we looked at it and da-da-da-da. So that's going to be very important. One of the key things to thriving in a busy season, it's seeing what works, see what doesn't, and go ahead and
adjusting
to it.
Correct. And I think that we have to learn how to just set boundaries and take breaks, right? Because whether you're working on Christmas in July or you're working on Christmas in November and December, it's a lot. It's a lot, you know, especially if you're creating the product. You know, like a lot of our, like my sister who's an Etsy shop, she's creating a lot of the products, right? So she doesn't have as much time to market, right? All of those things, we have to learn that it's, you know, not to make it all about the work, right? Let's remember that the holidays are, for us at least, the holidays for us are about Jesus. And like, although all year round and all day long we're talking to Jesus, it's like, it's a way of honoring him, right? So let's not use busy season as an excuse to be overwhelmed and stressed and angry and bitter and upset, and not take breaks and think that because we have all this work we can't pay attention to anything else going on, right? That's the point why we're talking to you about planning. But you know, it's easy to get burnt out and to get overwhelmed, and we just have to keep that top of mind. So in Matthew 11:28-30, I'm sure you guys know this verse, and if you don't, it's one to write down and take note of. It's, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So just let that sink in. And when you're feeling that overwhelm, that stress, that like just heavy feeling, just remember that. Just remember Matthew 11:28-30. And it's gonna hopefully help you just to center yourself and ground yourself and remember, like, it's not all about sales and deadlines, and your life is so much more than that. It's so much more than your business, and we have to learn to rest and to really avoid that overwhelm and that because then that makes us feel rushed and angry and upset, and we just don't treat people the way that we should when we're in that state, right? So resting, give it to God, give it to Jesus, just breathe, everything will be okay. And I'm talking to myself sometimes too.
Easier said than done. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But when you put Jesus in the middle of it, at least for me, that's definitely helped me out a whole ton. What also helped me out is doing pre-sales.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, cash flow is one of the most important things in business, right? We need to keep the lights on. We need to pay ourselves. We need to be able to pay for things. So pre-sales is a strategy that normally when you do pre-sales, you're giving up a percentage of funds because there's got to be a reason why someone is doing a pre-sale. Now, hands down, you might be a photographer or a creative that has high in demand, and the pre-sales is not at a discounted price. And the pre-sales is more because you're always overly wanted. A lot of people book you, and so you're giving the advantage and to the loyal customers. A lot of people like to use email marketing, for example, to reach out to pull those people to actually sign up to the emails, to be loyal to your customers that always go to you every year for the minis, etc.
And we do that too. And I think that when you do pre-sales, then you have a much better understanding, especially when you haven't done this before. If you do a pre-sale, you're going to gain a lot of understanding about what your clients want, need, don't need, could care less about, could really care about. They ask questions. So when you do a pre-sale, you're really gathering data. So this is especially important for those that haven't done this initial first year of service or product, right? And then you can get money up front to fund whatever it is that you're doing. So for example, we do pre-sales, we do discount it because we have decided to do 12 days of Christmas mini sessions because we're, just crazy. And but also because we really want to give
season. We know the difficulties when it comes to first of all planning to purchase in July for a day. Like, hey, what are you doing November 26th?
Correct.
Or November 10th, that weekend, that Saturday? It's like, we know that's hard to have that set. And so those 12, we're blessed to have a home studio that we're able to open it up. A lot of photographers can't do that, right? Because they either rent a studio out or whatever, and some of the pros and cons to that. But it gives the flexibility to people. If you need to reschedule, there's 12 days to pick from, so that's a huge reason why we do that.
Correct. And I think that with us doing the pre-sales, it also allows us to say, okay, this is how much pre-sale money has come in, how much cash flow has come in from the pre-sales. That's going to dictate how fancy we're going to get with our sets.
Listen,
right?
guys, what my wife just said, it's beautiful. I love it because she doesn't always think like that. Remember, she's a creative.
Yes.
Creatives like to create, like to serve people, but she's not thinking about the cash flow. And this is and I mention it just because it's beautiful to hear you say that. And
Thanks,
this also,
I've learned a thing or two from you.
It used to create tension between us because I'm looking at the numbers. She's looking at I want to create this amazing set that costs, I don't know, a ton of money.
Most of the time I didn't even know what it cost, and he would be like, "Well, how much is this going to cost?" And I was like,
"Wanted something to look beautiful."
It doesn't matter. Like, can we just write this off?
Yeah, the write-off. Oh Lord, let's not get started with the write-off, people. But this helped to avoid those, man, because you know what? We got a little, influx of cash. That means that dictates or that helps, right? Because you're making an investment, but then there's a part that, people, you're listening to the market. Did the market like the set? Because she creates an inspo, she puts it out there, so either they're booking because of the experience and they trust that whatever she does is going to be, to their standards. And then, you're creating this cash flow that then allows you to perfect. Now we get to invest, try to sell it first before even having the items. And then you're able to build from there. But that doesn't happen in the beginning. Normally you tend to have to go building that relationship from people. We had to create the set in July and then put it away and then bring it out again in October.
Exactly,
right?
Because we never really had that example to show. And we also wanted to stand out because a lot of the times, we like to do things very differently. And we like to try to go above and beyond. And most of the time, you're not going to see the full set until it's closer to Christmas when the set is actually up in the studio. And, you're just going to get inspos. And so for that time, we were like, no. We're going to show people exactly what it's going to look like. And since we had those pre-sales, we were able to use that money to fund that marketing campaign of putting together all the things that we needed and then storing it, making sure that the actual Christmas minis, when it came time in November and December, it looked just like that. So there was zero room for risk or for people to think, I wonder what it's going to look like. I'm not sure. We didn't want any of that. We wanted people to know exactly what the set, because our ideal client is very into aesthetics. So that matters a lot to our ideal client, and ideal client can be, again, we have a lot of episodes to
for
do.
everyone. It could be different, but for us, and that's the part where we try to build trust with people. And that's why we build the sets, right? To kind of go the extra mile, and we didn't have to show prior to that. So in the beginning, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have to put extra work in, but for us, we felt like it's
It made a difference.
It made a huge difference. Absolutely. Well, these were awesome. I think we definitely touched upon some key items to thrive in a busy season. But I would like to go ahead and move into what things can we do when it's not your busy season. And for us, we're talking about it in fourth quarter, but this could be for your particular business. It could be anytime. We just love Christmas. And so that's why we're talking about Christmas. Yeah, we're definitely. But this can happen any time of the year, just like your thriving time of the year. But for Christmas, if it's a slow time for you, what should the audience be doing to get ready?
This is a great question, because sometimes if you're not busy, you feel like, now what do I do, right? Like if you don't have the clients or you're not actively working, it could feel like you have nothing to do. Even though there's plenty of things to do, we're never finished as entrepreneurs. So some of the things that we can do is working on our business. And this concept of working in our business versus working on our business is a huge one that I think we definitely need to talk about at some point, because when you're so busy working in your business, giving the service or creating the product, then you don't have time to work on it. And when you don't work on it, it actually hurts you. Right. So we can take this. Yeah, we can take this, slow season time to refresh our website. Right. So do I need to update the information? Do I need to update the photos? Especially for photographers, we're constantly improving our work. Every photo shoot that we do, we get better and better and better. And sometimes we have photos on our websites that are 3-4 years old, and it no longer reflects our work. You could be blogging, you could be improving your SEO, you could be writing email templates.
One thing I'd like to mention on slow season is, if it's slow season, that means you're probably not selling. If you're not selling, that means you're definitely spending, because the bills still need to get paid, but no money's coming in. So again, going back to I like data. Okay, going back to it and be able to forecast and say, okay, the month of July is a low season for us. So when you look at your yearly goal that you want to make, you can consider 12 months of making income. You have to look at it like, all right, we have 11 months or 10 months, depending, right? And this is where the years of experience is going to help you.
For maternity leave, it was like 9 months. We have 9 months.
Correct. We had 9 months.
Or less. Thank God we had a full 9 months, right?
Yes.
So you definitely have to consider.
Yes. So what you're trying to do is looking at, okay, if I have 11 months, that means how much do I need to make? If my yearly goal is 100,000, divide that by 11. That's the number is going to tell you, okay, this is really the amount that we need to make. So during low season, keeping financially that in mind. And let me tell you, we had to do that prior to having our own business, because, for example, teachers, for all you teachers out there, you might know this is true. You get paid. You can decide to either get paid on a monthly basis. That means in the summertime when you're not working, they're paying you. Or you get to tell them, no, you're not going to manage my money. Go ahead and pay me, I believe is 10 months. Mm-hmm. But then that means that those 2 months of summer, you're not getting paid, right? So then you have to allocate and save to know that those two months, you're not making, there's no money coming in. So how are we going to either manage that or save up in the bank account so that we have money to pay the bills, etc. So that's a huge one during slow season to keep in mind. You know, if cash flow is not coming in, how can we plan so that we don't feel the anxiety of like, oh my God, we spent all our money and no money is coming in, and not live the paycheck to paycheck for a business or in your personal life.
Right. And sometimes we're spending during slow season on things like branding, right? Like that's working on your business. You're working on your business, meaning that you're probably going to either spend a lot of time doing it yourself or maybe hiring someone to do your brand for you. In our case, you know, at the beginning we did it all by ourselves, but then we started to, you know, ask and seek different professionals to help us with those things because we were so busy. And so think about, does your brand still feel like you? right? In that slow season period, what needs to be updated? Do you need new pictures? Do you need, a whole new brand? Does your business feel like a chore? And what is missing, right? Like, take some time to analyze really, like, what worked in the year, what didn't work, what did you love, who are your best clients, how can you reward them and retain them, right? How can you just improve? And then just planning out your year the year before, right? Like, in advance, like, what are some themes throughout the quarters or in the months that you have noticed that have worked really well, and how can you plan even better for the following year to be able to do that?
And you can pivot on quarters, right? Because you think that the year is going to go a certain way, but in reality, you can pivot as time comes, because remember, you're building connections, different ideas pop up, etc., and then you kind of pivot from there. And this is a perfect opportunity during down season to go back to pre-sales, right? I remember, for example, for us, when COVID hit, right? COVID was a scary moment, but surprisingly enough, for our business is when we thrived the most. Now, let's also put the facts out there that while a lot of people were Netflix and chilling, we were staying up even later. We were grinding more. We were investing more time into our business that led us to have, for the first time, like, we met not our sales goal. We surpassed our sales goal with pure pre-sales, right? We were getting people ready to say, hey, look, when this scary moment passes, we need to get you into doing a brand session. Because a lot of people, and a lot of people were pivoting during COVID, whether they were losing jobs, whether they weren't happy how their jobs were treating them during COVID. So they pivoted. They're like, you know what? And they had
to start my own business.
They wanted to start their own business.
Or for our couples, we had to make a decision. Okay, what are we going to sell? Because we can't go to photo shoots. Correct. So what are we going to do? And so we went back to all of our types of clients, and by that time, we're not where we are now spiritually, for sure, because we were definitely 100%. Working a lot, and we didn't have the baby yet. But we were trying to figure out, like, how can we use this to our advantage, to be able to, like, survive, right? Because it was a scary moment for all of us. And so, we said, okay, a lot of the times our couples don't order their wedding albums because of the fact that they don't have time. They don't have time to sit there and review their photos and to see and to respond to comments and to review the design and all this stuff. And or it's like so much information that they just get overwhelmed. But now with COVID, everything slowed down. They had more time to invest in things like their album design and the time to really go through their pictures and all of that. So that was one of the things that sold the most.
Well, and I'd like to add a point that we didn't do it because of this. We later then kind of analyzing, going back to that. Why did people spend more money? But then if you think about it, you shut down. You used to spend tons of money, whether it was vacations, going out eating, going out drinking. Now you don't. You're still getting paid, because a lot of people were still working, either working from home, etc. They're still getting paid, but they weren't spending on anything. And so it's like, yes, they didn't have the time before, but also they were spending the monies on other things. And now they're from home and they're bored, and they're like, you know what? Now that I have the time and that I have money, sure, why not? Let's go ahead and buy our wedding album. And we loved it. It was great because it kind of forced them to save for something so special. And now I'm pretty sure if we talk to them, maybe bring them to the show, they'll tell you that, it was a great move, because now they have their frames on their walls and they have the albums, etc. But that situation, again, we didn't kind of think about, people are now saving their money. No, it just came naturally. And then we kind of understood the reason it came about. And that we weren't just taking the time to chill or be bored or etc. We were investing in our education, because I remember this one, and hands down, my wife has been, from that aspect, been a leader in this household to continue adding education to our business and learning more and soaking up and during. So we were literally till
We
1
were
in the
reading
morning.
books,
Yeah.
making plans, like working on our messaging, working on our brand.
And I don't know
doing
if you
all those
want to
things.
mention the book that we were.
Yeah,
going
so we
through.
were
Okay.
reading Story Brand by Donald Miller. It's one of my favorite business books.
Amazing.
And it really made a difference in our business because we needed to get clear. We need to get clear on who we're targeting and what we need to say to them to facilitate a sale that doesn't feel salesy. Right. And I use that framework in the coaching programs that we've been building to make sure that we can do that also for other people without them having to read the book, because we've gone through the framework in that book for probably, we use that for so many things. Like we have 4 different brands. So we've been able to use it and use it again.
Little did we know though during that time that was something that we're going to incorporate.
It was so powerful back then.
Yep.
Yes. And another thing that we did during that time, which was slow season, right, was gather testimonials, right?
We did.
That was so important, not only because we need to use it on our websites and all that, blah, 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 but it also builds your confidence as a photographer or as a business owner, like to hear people. And we asked for video testimonials. We obviously gave an incentive, right? It wasn't just, hey, can you write us a review? It was a very thought out campaign. We like to think of things in campaigns about, gathering those from the heart testimonials of what it was like to work with us. And that's another thing that you can do. But here's the thing, whether you're in busy season working or you're in slow season trying to work on your business, you can still get overwhelmed and overbook yourself. And that's what we want to avoid. Whether you're in busy or slow season, just take time to pause, to reflect, to just
Rest
and spend quality time on your business with your family, serve at church, like do all of the things, have a blended life, not overbooking yourself and overworking yourself like we did for so many years. And
I like
keep that in mind.
You had mentioned that not only to invest time in your business should you use this downtime, but investing in yourself, personal development, investing in your health, how you become stronger, healthier. Because remember, and this is something that we missed out on earlier on, understanding the importance of eating, understanding the importance of rest, understanding the importance of exercise. And then hopefully in the future, we're going to be able to invite certain folks to, share some more of those. Because again, we're not the professionals in this. We have seeked out coaching for these areas that are very important, so that we're stronger and our minds are sharper. We're more creative, and we feel less exhausted. Because a lot of us love to work.
And changing our mindset too, like renewing our minds all the time. Just making sure that we are analyzing our life. And do we like the way that this is going? Do we not like it? And how can we change it? Because as entrepreneurs, that's one of the benefits that we have, is that we're able to pivot as we see fit. And yes, it's going to take a lot of creativity. And sometimes it's going to take years for you to be able to pivot. But you have the option to decide. Do I like what's happening in my life right now and in my business? And do I want to continue that? Or do I want to keep it that way? And then, you just keep renewing your mind and seeking from the Holy Spirit to help you just make those decisions and the right discernment. I think that for us, right, building a culture of slowing down has really been the biggest thing for us in the past couple of years. And we stopped trying to work all the time because we realized that while we were working all the time, there was other things slipping through our fingers, right? And the last thing we want is for our daughter to see us only working, because both of us in our lives, we saw our parents only working, right? And poor things, like they really had to, but we have been blessed that we don't have to. We can get creative as to what we can do and how we want to blend our life, love, and business, so that we can put first things first.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and do a recap. I think main points of discussion, very important to plan ahead, right?
Absolutely.
Investing time in ourselves and in our business, education, building education is, and these points go for both when your business is thriving during Christmas and when it's not. And using data.
Absolutely.
Using data is definitely one of those key things that are going to help you, which is hard in the beginning because you don't have it. So I want us to keep that in mind. And then let's not forget to pray for wisdom. Yeah. During all these moments, Jesus is the one that's really going to be your CEO, your number one right-hand man to know
Absolutely.
the next step, to guide you. Pray for, we've had to learn, seek the kingdom first, and then everything else falls in place. That doesn't mean, do not provide service with excellence, but that means pray so that he gives you the gifts be able to favor his gifts, to be able to provide and to connect with the right people. And that's really ultimately, we're not trying to reach everybody. We're not the photographers for everyone. Ultimately, we ask God to point us in the right direction to serve the people that he wants us to serve for whatever reason that it is. And there's so many different reasons that he might create a connection.
And that's a form of surrendering too, like when we pray, we have to also pray trusting that he's going to provide an answer, whether it's a teeny tiny little thing or a feeling or a vision or whatever it may be. And he doesn't always, because there's times where I'm praying and praying and praying. I'm like, I've been praying for months. And then all of a sudden, I get something like, a feeling or something like that. For me, it's goosebumps. Like when I get goosebumps, I know it's God talking to me, but just.
Yeah, she really does. She really does. And for me, interesting enough, I tend to tear up when we're talking something specific and it really hits like what she's saying. It just, I start tearing up. Sometimes I'm like, why am I crying? Right? I'm not. It's just tears that kind of confirm to me that that's what God wants us to do. Yeah. So kind of listening up is,
and just seeking that wisdom, because as a business owner, as a business owner, you need God more than ever, because there's so many decisions on a daily basis that you have to do. And if you're doing those decisions out of your own strength, out of your own thoughts, it's not going to go well. It's going to take you a lot longer to get where you want to be. And there's just so much room for error when we do that. But when we seek the kingdom, when we seek God, it's beautiful how he just provides everything that we need. And he doesn't tell us what to do. And he doesn't certainly tell us the whole plan, right? He just gives us one thing at a time. But it's like this calming feeling where we just like, okay, I'm going to give it to God. And he's there for me. He's my heavenly Father, and he's a good Father. And so just involve him in your planning, in your conversations, in your meetings. Just make sure that he's part of that.
Absolutely. And with that, I would like to thank you, Lord, for allowing us to complete another episode. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. And as I mentioned in our second podcast, I'm looking forward to the future of this podcast when we're able to have guests on this show, discuss on what recommendations they have for you for whatever services they provide. And more importantly, I seek to be able to help connect others to help others ultimately. So,
and in our next episode, if you've ever felt overwhelmed, which is most of us, trying to plan the perfect family photo shoot, we're gonna just break it all down. We'll be sharing our best tips from over a decade of experience in photography, and whether you're planning a holiday shoot like a mini session that we've been talking about today, or just want some timeless family photos, join us next time, because we're gonna challenge you first of all, and then we're also gonna help you kind of just organize all of those things. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Absolutely. And don't forget, this is a reminder to make today and every day your best day ever.